Hello and welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. Just doing a quick Sunday morning roundup of all the wee bits of news around Celtic at the moment, as we are kind of in the spell where all the players are going off on holiday or going off to play international matches, or the players in our squad who are off to play European nations over the summer. It's kind of a quiet time. The transfer window doesn't reopen until a week on Friday, so another 12 days for that. And so at the moment, there's not a terrible amount of things actually happening with Celtic. Matt O'Reilly, who will not be going to the European nations with Denmark, having been snubbed by the Danish international manager. There are quite a number of clubs who are said to be doing preliminary negotiations and inquiries with Celtic. Atletico Madrid have come back into negotiations, looking to up their €20 million bid from the winter. Both Spurs and West Ham have made inquiries. The current fee is thought to be about 25 to 30 million for an O'Reilly, but I could easily see Celtic pushing on up and up and up to see what kind of interest there is in O'Reilly and how high clubs are willing to go, because as we have him under contract for 4 years, there's no imperative to sell him, nor do Celtic necessarily need the money. So it's more going to be waiting to see what prices are coming in, and not standing in Matt O'Reilly's way if he wishes to move on to play in another league, or whether he prefers to have a whole season for Celtic in the new Champions League format. So as things stand, nothing concrete for Matt O'Reilly, but I'm pretty sure when the transfer window opens a week on Friday, especially with him not being part of Denmark's squad, there's going to be quite a number of bids coming in for him, and quite a lot of negotiations between him, other clubs, his agent, and Celtic. What does certainly seem to be moving on quite quickly and hotting up is Celtic and Benfica's negotiations regarding a permanent transfer for Paulo Bernardo. There is a €6 million clause which allows Celtic to buy Paulo Bernardo at the end of his loan. It does appear that Celtic and Benfica are negotiating that fee possibly down a bit. Also, the other aspect may well be any sell-on fee clauses that are attached to that deal as well, as a fair chunk of our transfer fee when we sold Jota to the Saudi League went back to Benfica, as they had a 20% or so share of any sell-on fees for Jota. So it may well be also these add-on clauses and additional clauses where Celtic and Benfica are negotiating. However, it does look like both Benfica and Celtic are keen to put this transfer through. Paulo Bernardo also is very keen to come back to Celtic. The Benfica manager was kind of saying he doesn't see Paulo Bernardo, as things stand, having an immediate future at Benfica, whilst at Celtic, obviously, he's going to go into a mixing pot of 4 or 5 midfielders, looking for those 3 positions, and he may well step up if Matt O'Reilly was to move on into one of those 3 regular starting positions. Last season, 33 games with 4 goals and 3 assists. He did have some really good spells for Celtic, a couple of spells where he was rather disappointing in his form. Did have an especially good set of games around Christmas time into the new year, then kind of faded away, but did have a few good performances at the end of the season as well, and of course was key in helping us win the game against Rangers with his swerving shot that was too good for Butland, which then rebounded to Adam Idah, who scored the winning goal. Talking of Adam Idah, it would appear that any negotiations with Norwich are kind of on the back burner. Norwich recently employed a new manager. It would appear that the Norwich scouting staff, coaches, and the new manager are going through the squad, deciding who's staying, who's going. And so it may well be in a couple of weeks' time we get some further clarity as to whether Norwich are willing to let Adam Idah go, and also potentially whether there's any scope for a transfer for Angus Gunn, their goalkeeper. And there have been quite a number of stories rumbling under that Celtic and Angus Gunn would be a good match in the long term as being our number one goalkeeper. It's thought the fee for Adam Idah would probably 6 million, which a lot of pundits and Celtic fans, etc., think is a perfectly reasonable price, and I would be perfectly happy with a €6 million deal for Paulo Bernardo and a £6 million deal for Adam Idah, but we'll see how that transpires. The link between Celtic and Man United's backup goalkeeper Altay Bayindir appears to have died away. What does appear apparent is Bayindir wants away from Man United to have first team football. The strong links and concrete deal that was put forward last week appears to be just rumours probably circulated by his agent to drum up interest and get other clubs interested. However, it is a possibility that Celtic might well be an option for Bayindir, depending on whether other clubs appear to come in for him. But it does appear that he wants away from Man United nonetheless. And Celtic could be a new club for him in that we would be able to meet his usual wage demands, and obviously we'd be guaranteeing him pretty much Champions League football, medals, trophies, and regular first team games for several seasons. A couple of the wee stories regarding Celtic. It does appear similar to the Matt O'Reilly stories that Mikey Johnston is very likely to be leaving Celtic in the summer. West Brom appear keen to have him back. The fee for that is uncertain, but 5, 6, 7, 8 million has been mentioned, and I would be biting off West Brom's hand if they were to offer anything on those ballparks. And similarly, there appears to be a considerable amount of interest in Hyeon Ju-oh, our South Korean centre forward. Brendan Rodgers is happy to let him leave the club, and it would appear there are many European clubs lining up to sign O. I personally would be happy for Celtic to keep O, maybe sign him out on loan next season, and give him more regular first team football, as I think his physique, pace, ability in the air and on the ground all could well be very useful for Celtic in the long term. But Rodgers does seem very keen to move on and bring in a new striker or two. Finally, contract talks with Daniel Kelly are apparently ongoing. However, there is increasing interest from a number of English clubs and clubs in Europe. It would appear that Ange Postecoglou at Spurs and Manchester United are both negotiating and putting out contract offers of around £9,000 a week for Kelly. Similarly, Bayer Leverkusen, Liverpool, Bologna and Como, all of whom have apparently been having initial talks with Kelly's agent, as when we get into July, Kelly will be free to negotiate with other clubs via his agent, and all that Celtic would be eligible for would be a compensation fee rather than any form of transfer fee. As things stand, it's uncertain whether Kelly wants a chance at first team football or would prefer to go and go to one of those big European clubs with bigger financial coffers and sit on their bench or be in their academies being developed for a few years. I would be sad to see Daniel Kelly go. I think he's a very talented player. I think he's got a lot of maturing, progress, and improvement to do, but I think he has a lot of promise. I would probably rate the Motherwell player Lennon Miller, who's a wee bit younger and has had much more first team experience, as being a better long term option. In that Lennon Miller very successfully has played for Motherwell at the highest level, now going into his second season. Next season will be a third season in Motherwell's first team. He's never really looked at his depth, and particularly remember that he was very good for Motherwell in the game that we ended up winning 3-1, but for a good spell he was controlling and a key part of the midfield that was out battling us at that point. So, again, we'll keep you up to date with any Lennon Miller stories, as there have been rumours that he's coming to Celtic, also rumours that he's going to Rangers. Similarly, Connor Barron, the young Aberdeen central midfielder, again, there have been stories that he's coming to Celtic, stories that he's going to Italy, stories that he's going to Rangers, and I think at the moment, pretty much any player who may be on the verge of leaving their club, Celtic, Rangers, are clubs who seem to be always mentioned in every story on the internet and in the newspapers. So just to finish off, two things. Tomorrow going to be doing a video summarising how our 15 players who've been out on loan over the last season, how they've done. We update on how successful they were, what their stats were, their general rating scores, and also we update on where possibly their future or lack of future at Celtic lies. And finally, just for those who are new to the channel, please do, if you can, click that subscribe button, click the like button, and also feel free to pop your comments in the comment section. Please try and keep those pleasant, polite, respectful, and we can have a nice chat debate amongst Celtic fans. So that finishes things off for today. We'll do videos over the next wee while, just periodically keeping up to date with any Celtic news and any other topics that are cropping up around Celtic. So for today, goodbye and hail, hail.